time, my life didn't change because I couldn't let go of the anger I felt about my incarceration. I believed a grave injustice had been done to me. I had been running a federally funded program, trying to help vulnerable women and children, but the system was flawed from the start. Instead of fixing the flaws, I ended up being blamed for them. It felt like the world turned against me. That anger built up inside me like a storm, and it began to consume my every thought. I was stuck in a cycle of rage, replaying the same story in my head over and over again. How could something so wrong happen to me? I couldn't let go of the bitterness. I felt betrayed by a system that I tried to serve, by a program that was meant to uplift people but ended up punishing me instead. The injustice felt so heavy that it followed me everywhere. I was trapped in my own thoughts, consumed by the belief that I was wronged, and I couldn't break free from that mental prison. No matter what I did, that story of injustice was the only thing I could focus on. I was stuck in a rat race of unhappiness, running in circles without moving forward. But here's the thing. When you hold on to anger like that, you're the one who suffers. The world keeps moving, but you remain stuck. I realized that while I was sitting in my cell, the only person who could set me free wasn't the judge or the system. It was me. My freedom didn't begin with the release from prison. It started when I released myself from the anger that was chaining me to the past. I had to make a decision. I could either continue to let that anger eat me alive, or I could change the way I saw my situation. It wasn't easy. It took time, effort, and a lot of self-reflection. But gradually, I began to see that maybe this experience was an opportunity in disguise. Yes, I had been incarcerated, but I was still alive. I still had my mind, my heart, and my spirit. And most importantly, I had time. Time to think, time to reflect, time to reinvent myself. And that's when I realized I wasn't trapped. I was being given a second chance to recreate my life. My incarceration wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something new. The moment I decided to shift my mindset, everything started to change. Instead of seeing prison as a punishment, I began to see it as a place of transformation. I stopped viewing myself as a victim and started thinking of myself as someone who had been given the chance to reset. This wasn't about what had been done to me. This was about what I was going to do next. I decided that instead of letting this break me, I was going to use it to rebuild myself. And that's when my life began to truly change. I started to feel grateful for the time I had to reflect. I began to see the flaws in my thinking, the ways in which I had been limiting myself long before my incarceration. It wasn't just the prison walls that had been holding me back. It was my own mind. I had been so focused on external circumstances, on what had happened to me, that I forgot I had the power to create my own reality, no matter where I was. That realization was the turning point. I began to ask myself different questions. What could I learn from this experience? How could I use this time to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient? How could I turn this situation into a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block? Those questions changed everything. I started reading, writing, and thinking deeply about what I wanted for my future. I began to see my incarceration as a part of my story, not the end of it. That's when I started to feel empowered. I realized that no one could take my power away unless I allowed them to. My circumstances didn't define me. My mindset did. I stopped seeing myself as someone who had been wronged and started seeing myself as someone who had the strength to overcome it. And that shift in perspective transformed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. I began to use the time I had to focus on self-growth. I set goals for myself, and every day I worked on becoming a better version of myself. I read books that inspired me. I journaled about my thoughts and feelings, and I made plans for the future. Slowly but surely, I could see the old anger and resentment melting away. I was no longer a prisoner of my past. I was creating my future. The journey wasn't about just getting through my incarceration. It was about becoming the person I was always meant to be. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't decided to change my mindset. I learned that your perspective is everything. The way you choose to see your circumstances can either keep you stuck or set you free. And I chose freedom. That's what I want to share with you today. If you're feeling stuck, angry, or weighed down by your circumstances, I want you to know that you have the power to change it. Your past doesn't determine your future. You do. It's all about how you choose to see yourself and your situation. You can either stay trapped in the story of what's been done to you, or you can rewrite the story and take control of your life. The moment you decide to change your perspective, everything will begin to shift. It doesn't matter where you are or what you've been through. You can always reinvent yourself. You can always choose to see your challenges as opportunities. You have the power to turn your pain into purpose, your struggles into strength, and your setbacks into comebacks. And when you do, you'll realize that nothing can hold you back except your own mindset. This isn't about just overcoming adversity. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about recognizing that no matter what happens, you always have the choice to rise above it. You are not defined by your mistakes, your failures, or your setbacks. You are defined by how you choose to move forward in spite of them. And when you choose to see yourself as strong, capable, and resilient, there's nothing you can't overcome. So if you're facing a challenge right now, I invite you to shift your perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? How can this make me better? When you change the way you think, you change the way you live. Your life doesn't change until you do. My incarceration was a hurdle, yes, but it wasn't the defining moment of my life. It was simply one chapter in a much larger story. And just like me, you have the power to turn your struggles into something meaningful. You have the power to take control of your narrative and create a life that reflects your strength, resilience, and purpose. I'm inviting you to come along with me on this journey. Together, we can rise above our circumstances and create lives that are filled with purpose, passion, and power. You have everything you need within you to succeed. It's not over until you win, because the only limits are the ones you place on yourself. So step into your power. Change your perspective and watch your life transform. Peace and blessings, Dr. O.